All right, at 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Everybody is present except for Thomas, Cheryl, and our student representatives. We'll start with communication items.
All right, we'll start by inviting our elementary principal up.
Somebody want to grab the door?
Okay. Thank you. So, Cassie, let's hear what's going on at the elementary.
Yes. So looking back at March and the beginning of April here, we celebrated our food drive month. I know we talked about that last time, but we had great success once again. So I put in some pictures for you to see. We had a big celebration with all students in the gym. And our theme was We Sing for Our Supper. So we had staff who courageously stood up and took that theme to a whole new level. We had some recorder players. We had soloists, some duets. Really fun time celebrating the success of our food drive. And we also had a one-man band with a symbol that put on a special little skit as well. Allison from the Paynesville Community Service Center joined us as our way to present her our food items and that cash donation. So I just want to say thank you again to our students and families that supported our food drive. I've got the March Bulldog Spotlight students listed there. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get a picture quite yet. And so these students will hopefully find out tomorrow that they are the recipients for March for being mindful, connected, and respectful. But I wanted to get their names out there, and we'll get that picture to come soon. Also wanted to share with you, Mike Mathiasen created a kindergarten video to help promote our kindergarten registration here for the 25-26 school year. So I encourage you to click on that and to post that on your own social media if you would like, and just to keep spreading the word for our future Bulldogs to come join us.
How long is it?
It's short.
Can we watch it?
We sure can. Yeah, that's fine with me. It's like a minute and a half, maybe. Okay.
Can we get that for the public?
Yep.
Hang on a second here.
A minute 49.
I want to get it over here so that people can see it. Don't mind me while I lumber through this.
Now it's just a way for us to capture the life of a kindergartner, what that looks like at Paynesville. So thank you to Mr. Mathiasen for putting that together.
In kindergarten, I ride the bus to school and home. My favorite part of music is that we get to power stars up and we get to sing and have joy. At Paynesville Elementary, we follow the big three: mindful, respectful, and connected. We love scene time. In the library, you can read a book by yourself or with a friend. My favorite part about gym is when we get to do the parachute and we get to play pool tag. Our teachers are nice and help us learn. At recess, I like to play with my friends tag. We love kindergarten!
simple, but they get to see a snapshot of what kindergarten is like at Paynesville Elementary School. So thanks again to Mike Mathiasen for putting that together and getting that out for others to see.
Is this on like our website then, when you say it's advertised to the public?
Yeah, yep.
This is beautiful. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if you did something for every grade. I guess tip my hat to you. I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely something, to promote our schools.
Marketing.
Yep.
Yes, that's
It's
huge.
marketing,
That's
for
a
sure.
huge marketing thing.
Also, this week we started the Minnesota State standardized testing with the MCAs. We started reading today. Next week is math, and then that following week is science, which just pertains to 5th grade. So we've sent out communication to families around that, just ways that they can help their students be successful. And again, just to reiterate, it's one test, one snapshot of our learning. Certainly we look at multiple data points to measure and recognize and celebrate our students' learning in all areas, academic and social emotional, as you are aware through previous board presentations. Looking ahead, no school coming up April 18th and 21st. That's over that Easter weekend. And then we have our last 2-hour late starts for families to note on May 5th. Any questions or anything for me?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Not sure if you're aware, I'm the board chair for the Paynesville Community Service Center. So I did have a chance to speak to Allison. She showed me the video that somebody had shot there.
Yeah.
She was just overwhelmed. She said it was so tearful for her. She became very emotional. So thank you so much. Thank the students over there and the staff for all that they've done for the food shelf and service center.
Yeah, I need to give credit where credit is due. And we have a committee that's called the Rah Committee. And they put together our celebration, bringing different folks up on stage and bringing Allison in. And so they did a great job bringing the whole school together and creating those moments, right? For our school and for Allison and for our community. So thanks for passing that along.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, and let's transition up to the secondary building and see what's happening. Jesse, come on up and let us know what's going on. Secondary.
Good evening, everybody. So just kind of looking back at March, we had a really busy full March, and I don't think it's going to slow down much here as we race on to the end here. But we had one of the big highlights is we had a really music-filled month. We had lots of band concerts and choir. We had 2 choir concerts, a band concert. We had small group contests, large group contests. So really kind of a month where, a lot of sports kind of took the back seat, but our fine arts really kind of had a big month in March. So that's fun to see and fun to celebrate with them, all their hard work. We did have Mr. Hertig here for Find a Way. I put up some pictures of the event. Just a really cool event, a really cool celebration. They came in with a live band and they played music for us. And then he came up and spoke about his experience being a double arm amputee and a coach that helped encourage him to find a way and to push forward past this. And so just a real powerful message for our students. And I know that there were a bunch of students who were really moved by the presentation and took something away from it. So a big thank you to Student Reach, is the organization that brings these speakers around to schools in Minnesota. And so thank you for Student Reach to reaching out and providing us that opportunity to have them come. Looking forward at things going on here. Statewide testing is going on. So Cassie touched on this, but the MCA testing is going on right now, and that's just one metric that we use. I know we talked in our presentations a lot about fast bridge testing. Well, MCA testing is another metric we can look at to kind of assess programs and look at what we're doing and look at student achievement. So we had our access test that's for our English language learner students. And so that wrapped up on March 14th. Our ACT today actually was this morning in this boardroom. We had 25 students for 3.5 hours taking their ACT test. Kudos to them. That's a a grueling experience, and I know they were all pretty tired when they were done at noon, and so we had that. MCA reading starting today. MCA math is next week, and then MCA science is the following week. So thank you for parents for supporting students and encouraging them to do their best on these assessments. So we appreciate that. I did want to push forward some end of the year dates here as we're looking at things that are going on. So on May 16th, we're going to have our Dollars for Scholars breakfast. We do at Bug Beehive Resort, where we award our scholarships to the scholarship recipients. We have donuts for breakfast, and then we even bring some of the donors get to meet the people that they donate to. So it's kind of a cool opportunity for donors and recipients to have a conversation. That happens on a Friday. That Sunday then is the senior honors banquet, and that happens here at school. And then May 20th is seniors' last day in graduation practice. So we bring seniors in that morning and we do graduation practice. We collect their school stuff, and then that's their last official day of school. And then on May 23rd is graduation, that Friday evening again. So more information to come out soon, but I just wanted to put those dates on your radar. We have been doing some planning for graduation. It'll look very similar to what last year's graduation looked like in the pack. So. Perfect.
Any questions for Jesse? All
Going
right.
fast, Dan.
It's this is the fastest year I've ever experienced, and I have no doubt that it's not going to slow down here at all. So it's been exciting.
For the MCAs, what's it look like as far as opted out? Was there a lot this year, or don't you even know those numbers?
So it's hard to preliminary say because we have 3 rounds of testing, and so it's different groups each time. And so, like the juniors take the math test, but they haven't taken any previous tests. So we may get a lot of juniors that opt out. As of right now, it looks pretty similar to last year, if not a little less. But again, it's hard to make a prediction moving forward with a lot of groups not haven't tested yet.
Will that take more than a month? No, probably be a couple months, huh? Till you get the actual data back, right?
The achievement data.
August, okay.
Most time it's not till August, and unless they've changed it, because they used to want to announce it at state fair time.
Right.
Okay.
And that was a total waste of time, because all of our administration has to figure out next year before it even happens. So you're not able to make use of the MCA because you didn't know what it said till then.
I could understand it taking more than 30 days, but yeah, that's quite a few months.
Well, I think they used to have it set up because they had to correct the test by hand, maybe. But
Sometimes it needs to be updated a little bit.
Perhaps.
I can get you opting out numbers. I'll know those by the time we finish the 3rd round of testing here for sure. But as far as actual published MCA data, that doesn't come out until August.
And for me, that's a huge issue, because we need you guys to know what happened there.
Right.
So when we roll into September of next year, we are already ahead of the game, and issues that may have arisen in the MCAs, you get it handled. That whole system is set up not to make schools better. Our FAFSA thing, that
The
is.
fast bridge, yeah.
The FAFSA bridge is.
Yep, it is.
That's set up to make things better. The MCAs could be so much more useful, but we all have to talk to our Congress people and tell them we want that data in May so that our people in our schools can plan with it.
It's
So
much
that's the-
easier. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So that's who you have to talk to, because that was gonna be my next question. When we're down to MSB in January isn't gonna help, you gotta go through your politicians.
And the only way I think you're gonna make it work is through the politicians. They blame everything on
That's sad.
the politicians that they can't decide, and
Some of it,
and all that.
some of it has to do with the timing of, the reason that Minnesota administers the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment is because it's part of our data that's used for our federal accountability. So there are a whole host of guidelines that the Department of Education has to follow. So I would say our Minnesota Department of Ed is another place to have a conversation, but they don't generally make change without going through the legislature. So
I was just gonna say, the FastBridge assessments allow us to be a lot more responsive to student data, because we can test them 3 times a year and we get the data back immediately, and we can make immediate adjustments to instruction. And so we tend to lean a little more heavily on our FastBridge data, but.
And I thank this school district, as far as you, Janelle, and your staff, you, Jesse, and Cassie, for really getting this FastBridge stuff going and moving it forward, to start taking a look at more of that mathematics type stuff. Not that you're not doing that, but, see what's next, because if we're gonna wait on the state, especially with this MCA data, to try to lead us someplace, we'll never get there. So thank you for really pushing this. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you, Cassie.
We have good teams of people that are doing good work. So, good. All right, thanks, Jesse. All right, so Chris, what's happening in the world of community education? We come into summer season, your busy time, right?
Busy time.
Your busy time.
Right. So since the last time I was here, our catalog came out that week of March 17th to 22nd. I was hoping for just before April 1st, and they got it done early, and we hit the ground running. So we've had over 700 registrations come in for our spring and summer programming. We are looking to add, even though our catalog came out, we have some more summer classes that we are looking to add. We're waiting for the instructor to let us know what works for them. And then I just got a call from Great Theater Summer Camp. They went through some restructuring and nobody was talking to me, so I thought maybe they weren't interested in coming back out here, but I just got a call today that would love to. So we're gonna work on trying to figure out how to promote that. And because last year we had 19 kids sign up for that class, and we had a lot of good reviews. So those will be 2 that we'll be trying to push out through social media and using the newsletters that our principals put out. So those will be our avenues for those 2 programs. Our PAUSE program, our summer childcare, our themes and our field trips are set. We have most of our staff secured for the season. We can always, we're filling in a few gaps here and there. And there are 88 students registered. So it's looking good. Our early childhood program, our big truck night is coming up on May 15th. We're having it at the elementary school this year, right between our playground and Gazebo Park. We're getting the street blocked off and parking cars or trucks in those areas. We have quite a few trucks, so I hope we have enough room for everyone. So it's gonna be, we have one of our staff members, their husband works in construction, so there's gonna be like a crane. So it'll be fun. We're working on maybe having some food there as well, whether that's a food truck or doing some of it ourselves, just to make it an event. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. so parents can just show up and not worry about feeding their kids. They can come in and work with that. I'm also, we'll have a display. This will be a great opportunity to put a display up about our playground, where we're at, see if we can recruit some people for the construction of that. We added 2 additional ECFE classes. They are not full, but we have enough kids to run class. So these are new classes. We typically finish in March, but I had an instructor that is willing to run class, and so we thought we would just see what would happen. So I'm hoping that that'll be a great opportunity to build more programming for those families that have 0 to 3-year-olds. So more to come on that, but those classes have enough kids to run. Our preschool program, our 2025-26 registration opened up March 17th. As of now, it looks like we are going to have 2 sections of 3-year-olds and 3 sections of 4-year-olds. So last year we had 3 sections of 3-year-olds and 4 sections of 4-year-olds. So it's more like we normally have had in the past. But there's there's some spaces still available. So if you're, know some families or want to get the word out, I'm doing a little outreach using some of our early childhood screening data to see if there's any names that are not currently on the list and reach out to those families, see if they're interested in preschool. Fitness center, we have on April 19th, our last winter market from 9 to noon. And then the winter market, along with a couple of their partners, are hosting a community Easter egg hunt. It is something they would like to make it an annual event. So that is going to be also at the PAC from 1 to 3 p.m. And they'll have a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully it'll be a big event. We'll see. They're not sure. And then what's on the horizon, which I've reported before, is we are starting our rural talk around daycare. So that starts on, we have our core team meeting on April 22nd. And that's a long day that we'll be doing a lot of talking. And then from that will be the goal setting and planning, which will be on May 15th. So more to come on that as well. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Osendorf was not able to be here this evening, and he asked if I could provide an update, and I said absolutely. So a couple things that he noted is we still continue to work on one of the air handlers, and he had to pull the fan shaft and build it up and put new bearings on it. Gotta say, I'm very appreciative it's him doing that and not me, so really grateful for that. You might remember that the state of Minnesota changed the lead and water regulations. In this building, they're still working to get a couple of faucets below the required lead regulations. So any of those faucets that are not at the regulations are clearly marked not to drink the water, and they're very, very clearly marked. But so they're working on that. The roofers will be here mid-April to start on the new roof. So that's great news. And they have a few items to take care of on the fields so that they were ready to go for spring sports. So those are some of the things that are happening in the buildings and grounds world. And if you have any questions or comments, you certainly feel free to email him and let him know if there's anything that has come to your attention.
You don't know, those faucets, they're not the drinking water faucet.
No.
They're just the ones where they wash their hands and stuff, I'm assuming.
Yep. And anything that would have been a drinking water is shut off. So they can't bypass a sign to drink lead water. That make sense?
I'm
Some
assuming,
you just replace those, go ahead.
I'm assuming this means they're just replacing lead pipes in there until they get far enough that they're no longer in those readings?
I have to ask for sure. I know that there's a couple of different, some of it has to do with flushing, some of it has to do with filtration, and some of it I think could be about replacement. So I can't answer that question specifically, but I can have Ken get back to you.
Okay.
Yep.
Same question.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Moving on, Paynesville Area School Strategic Plan.
All right, so we've talked a lot about our strategic plan, and so I really wanted to try to just put together some guiding questions to maybe structure our conversation a little bit more around the strategic plan. And the other piece that I wanted to do was begin kind of incorporating the school perception survey that we did in 2024 before the tech levy, because that asked really more questions about us as a district in addition to their support. So I think it's really important to kind of look at that. So I'm going to, I'm going to just cast this and we'll use this as a discussion point. This is going to be a discussion point that the questions that are here are questions that can be reflected on by our administrative team, by our buildings, by our
Staff.
Yeah, our staff, but I was thinking of our community organization that comes together, having a huge mind actual
Advisory
titles,
council?
thank you, the District Advisory Council.
I was trying to think of
It was just lost, and so as you see, the questions are really gonna be thought provoking that really help us to understand, like, what are the actual things that we've done that have either helped us or where do we need to go? So let's just kind of start walking through these. Right. Oh, I don't want to share that. Peepers.
Wrong share.
Let's try a slideshow. There we go. All right, so just some reflections. So here's what the intention of this is just to ask some key questions about those following 3 goals: our growth, our communication, and our fiscal stewardship. And really just as a reminder, our mission is to prepare students with the academic, social, and personal skills to succeed in their career and community. The vision statement, we spend a lot of time we've referenced the mission statement much more prominently throughout communication. I think you've seen it on many presentations. You see it on all of our board meetings. But the vision is also important to kind of keep at the forefront as well. Preparing students to succeed in an ever-changing world by nurturing and developing their natural curiosity, creating critical thinkers and problem solvers who possess dynamic academic skills that maximize their potential and build the foundation of responsible, ethical, and compassionate members of our community, right? We don't spend a lot of time talking about that, but I think it's important to keep at the forefront. And then the goals, again, we're gonna look at each of those goals: the growth, communication, and financial allocation and fiscal stewardship. So when you think about the first goal, so these are taken directly off of the strategic plan. Okay, so these, let me go back here. The goals are taken right off the strategic plan. So Paynesville Area Schools prioritizes growth as an organization. We strive to maximize student and staff growth on a daily basis. Growth will be measured through a holistic approach that includes, but is not limited to, the following elements: emotional and physical wellness, intellectual wellness, and social wellness. So here's my questions that I would like us to start thinking about, and really, as we start formulating and working through what is the next steps of our strategic planning, how have we supported student and staff growth across all wellness areas? So as we go through this, board members, if there's something, when we kind of get to the end, if there's something that stands out to you, that's kind of, I'd love for you to think of some examples of how we've done that. In what ways has the integration of social emotional learning, SEL, impacted student behavior and engagement? How have professional development efforts evolved to match strategic goals? What evidence shows progress in emotional, intellectual, and social wellness? What does that look like? Have capstone projects and pathway programming influenced student readiness for life beyond school? So we've had conversation about pathways, but we haven't had a lot about capstones. Okay, is that something?
Capstone mean?
It's like a capstone project is like a culmination. It's a culminating project that
Like culminate, meaning ongoing?
Ongoing, long-term.
Ongoing.
Yep, an ongoing long-term project. Yep. And are our local learning expectations realistic, measurable, and inclusive of all learners? So when you hear those questions about kind of growth, what are some things that come to your mind?
The finishing up the letters,
Mm-hmm.
or I think it was just the elementary teachers, correct? Or has it moved over to?
Letters has been all of the English language arts
Okay.
instructors.
All right, so, but I know that the district is finishing that up.
Mhm.
So whatever that length of time was, there's a lot of growth from that.
Mhm. Yep.
Uh,
It's a great example.
Yeah, and then also, the growth, as far as the fast bridge, how that has been laid out to help from the teacher side
Mhm.
and also from both our principals.
Mhm.
We're coming together and working. So maybe that's somewhat of a capstone, may have jumped out to that kind of a capstone thing. But now getting ready to launch that into something that's further than just the reading side of it, where do we move into the math side of it? Take a look at the math and then possibly, as far as that capsule, then moving it out to the science side of it, so. Yeah.
I guess our block scheduling, it's kind of been tweaking. Jesse's been, kind of tweaking that. That's kind of an ongoing process.
And I think that's a really nice example of the pathways programming, making sure that you've got things set up so that you can have kids have those opportunities for a longer course, but yet you can like the more hands-on opportunities. So that's a good example too, of the schedule reflection.
And then with that, like, because I know the elementary school's been doing that bulldog time, but with Jesse's leadership now starting from the secondary school, and I always forget the name of it now.
Lead time.
Yeah, lead time, really opening up that lead time and nailing it down as to what is specifically going to happen.
Yep.
So.
I know with the SEL, I've noticed a change even in my kids, just having them able to express themselves a little bit better. Just showing that much.
Yeah.
So that's how I see that growth in any case. So.
That definitely impacts student behavior
Mhm.
and engagement. Okay. So as we progress and kind of continue to think about strategic planning, let some of these questions kind of sit and think about. These were examples. These are things over the last couple of years that our district has done that have really been in alignment to support the growth. And then we'll start thinking about next steps as well.
And if I can just add one last thing as far as growth, preparing students for the future in school, but then future outside of it is what is going on over at the elementary school with Cassie and that group over there, as far as recognizing kids that are, as far as, mindful and helpful and stuff. So, and really putting that out there and giving their pictures. Because there's nothing that makes a kid happier than to have their, their picture in the paper and be recognized with that.
So the next goal area that we have is communication. Paynesville Area Schools recognizes the importance of clear, concise, and transparent communication for all stakeholders. The district shall foster multi-mode communication to engage and inform all community members, students, and parents on school district related issues. So we've had a lot of conversation around communication. So let's look at some of the questions to think about. How effectively do our communication efforts reach all stakeholders? That's been an ongoing and probably is something we're going to have to continue to talk about, I would presume.
That conversation never ends.
Yep. And in my opinion, it shouldn't, because communication needs are evolving. And
It's ever changing.
where a person is getting their communication today may not be where they're getting their information tomorrow. Which digital tools or platforms are most and least effective for engagement? How do we gather and act on stakeholder feedback? What improvements have we seen in transparency and consistency? And how does our communication strategy support equity and inclusion? That's an area where I struggle, only because I know that we don't always reach our Spanish-speaking families with the same level of integrity as our English-speaking families. And that's work that I need to do. I mean, that's something that I'm aware of. But that one, when I read that, I was like, oh, that's a really good reminder, right? Because we have a number of Spanish-speaking families, and we have some families who have communication barriers that we just really need to be aware of. So when you hear those things, what are some of the things that stand out for you as board members?
The laptops. Being able to have laptops for all of us.
Or iPads.
Yeah, exactly. But then coupled with that, because it was mentioned, and when we saw that video, and thank you Bruce for asking to see that, it's not that we don't have, that this is the only way media of which to learn something. To hear that young boy, I think it was, young child say, I like going to a library and reading books. Either, to myself or, with somebody or to a friend. Because I think we hear so much of that, at least I hear a lot of it from say the community side, that they don't have any books at school anymore. They don't have libraries anymore. Well, we sure do.
Yeah.
And so there's an excitement there from whoever that child is. It must be more than one. But then also stepping into, say, the 21st century or moving on with the Chromebooks and that. So.
Yeah, I think part of how, just kind of as a added point to that, part of how our access to books have changed is they've become more classroom libraries versus building-wide library, right?
Mhm.
So students can go, when they're done, they can go back to the bookshelf, grab a book and come and sit down. You know, it's different access than it was when I was in school. I went to the media center and I pulled up my card and
Right, yeah.
into my Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
Okay, what other things resonate with you about communication?
Our news channel is definitely important. I know they've been having a little bit of turnover and just trying to figure out their path forward there, but it's definitely, some comments from the community has definitely noted how many people watch it and rely on that for some of their info. And we definitely need to make sure we're keeping that as well, not supplied, but you know what I mean. We got to make sure that they're able to do what they need to do.
So for like the live stream? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
live
talking?
streams,
Okay.
you know, and we put everything up there, whether it's these board meetings, sports. That's how a lot of people just stay connected to our
Sure.
school.
Yep.
I believe that we're not getting to people. So we have this bubble here with people who have students and they're active in sports and all that. What drives this thing is when we have votes that pass, that the community's behind us. And when we have to have situations put up to override a bunch of no votes. Are those no votes because we never told them anything about what was going on in the school? What is the information getting to those people? We always talk about the stakeholders, and I don't know, it's a favorite word, but we are not getting to those people. You can go many places. People that have their grandparents, have parents in this community on whatever age and wonder what's going on. I, Bruce Vanderpool, on the school board, don't know half of what's going on in this thing. I don't have a chance to go in and spend my time surfing through the website, which isn't a favorite place of mine to go. I'm on websites all the time. It doesn't flow nicely.
Yeah.
It doesn't search nicely. You want to go in there and search calendar, you can't even search calendar. So let's not get all tied up that, yeah, we got all that stuff done. We are not reaching them. I go back to something I picked up at the conference years ago. They took a newspaper sheet is this big, okay? And whatever the size it is. They had it so it folded up 8 ways. They allowed it two-sided, full color, and they put pictures with a story about all different things going on in the school, including classroom, which we never hear anything about classrooms. We have stuff going on in classrooms, in some of these classes with teachers, probably most of our staff doing things that are absolutely outstanding. Nobody knows. Nobody knows about that. We have the arts programs. We have things like that that are just plain missing in this thing. We can get all the sports we need out of the Paynesville Press, but that's about all that shows up there really. What about the rest of what's going on here? And how they did it, it was a school down north of Minneapolis. I can't tell you exactly where, Lindstrom, some of those towns. It was 3 schools and they printed this up and they had it folded up. So it came to you in one 8x10 deal. You opened it up and there were all these things about the different things going on in the school.
Yes.
So I don't know if I can continue, but I was gonna bring this up at the end. So today we watched a beautiful thing about the little kids, right? Well, I can remember when we had the math instructors in here, we had the English instructors in here telling us what they were doing in their classes. We were trying to solve an issue, but it was interesting to know what the heck is going on in these classes. That faded away. We don't have it anymore. Probably happened before you got here. We had times where the Innovation Center, for us in this bubble, that appears to have gotten to be a little bit of an old standard. You know, we got that. No, it isn't. It's new and exciting to anybody looking at our community from the outside. It makes no difference how long it's been here. And we have to be careful that we don't, just because it's here, we're used to it. It's old news. It is not old news. Lots of people don't know about that stuff. We don't know much about the automotive. We don't know much about the metals. We don't know much about the woods. We don't know much about ag. Now, the ag program is gonna have a picnic out here one of these days. Is there a little video of that we can have show up here, just short and sweet, just like Cassie did for the little kids, and let the public know what's going on? And I know that lots of people watch this.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're not there, but we have to reach those people. I still go back to the mail.
Yep.
So we look at catalogs and things like that we drive programs from. That gets to everybody.
Yep.
And with community ed, lots of that stuff has left us look pretty good. But what about the guts of our program? I just think we need a lot more of that.
And I think those are very, what you're talking about are really nice actionable items that then let's talk through, how do we prioritize in that then, and make sure that our staffing and our resources are aligned to make those things happen. Because that's, when you look at what we focus on, you've seen us focus on letters and multi-tier systems of support, and we're seeing results. You've seen us focus on, right? So those are the actionable, those are the next items that I think are great suggestions to bring that, and let's talk about what can that look like and how should that look? And so then we can define, instead of saying, and I'm going to push back a little bit and say, nobody knows. I think there is a population of people that don't know. And I think that population of people is really important, because I think, to your point, they feel as though I only hear from the school when.
Absolutely.
So I think it's something we have to for sure be aware of. Yep.
I guess the thing I was wondering, and that kind of piggybacks on what Bruce was saying. I'm just starting to get into this shale volleyball thing, but it doesn't matter if it's volleyball, basketball, or whatever. But our innovation center there, where it had the glass windows, aren't all these lights on timers, or where we've got LED lighting? I think those lights should be on 24 hours a day. I guess the reason I say that is everybody's, when they're at a sporting event, it's like, what's behind there? Well, I'd like to think nobody's gonna break the window and break in there, but at least they can see that shop area, they can see that innovation area. Probably opening up a can of worms. I was in Melrose, Kirkhoven schools, hallways are open. Probably opening a can of worms for people to walk to school, but they really had nothing to hide. I mean, there's locks on the lockers. I mean, hopefully nobody's vandalizing or anything, but it was just interesting how people could walk down the halls, and I hope nobody's destroying anything, but it was just interesting how they have a sporting event in 2 of their gyms. The whole school is opened up. Where you can walk down the halls. My sister actually showed me, or actually my sister-in-law showed me area of the school there in Melrose, and I thought it was pretty amazing. But I guess we have the innovative center. We have that nice area that's new, and it's glass all the way. Leave that thing lit up, because people walk down that hallway and they're gonna look in there.
So again, these are actionable items.
It was supposed to be lit. When
There were
that whole
portions of it,
program went
yeah.
through, and the idea to the windows was to light it up so people could see it for every game they came to at night and everything, and it's never been lit up.
Yeah,
It's
and
supposed to have been lit up, not a lot, just
it was emergency
light it
lighting.
up so
It was
people can
emergency
see.
lighting.
Goodness, look at all this stuff they got in there. Look at this welder you have in there. It was supposed to be lit up, and that was in the initial stuff.
Yep.
And that was a lot of the reason those windows are there.
You can go to
If
dams.
it's dark, don't need the windows.
It's dark all the time, so I don't know why we have glass there, but
Yeah.
people walk that hall and it's just eye-catching. But if it's dark, nobody knows we have it.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
That's
So
something
keep-
we
yep.
definitely gotta look into.
We can look into those, how we market.
How often do we let the community, like the community in general, just come in, look at the school, walk the halls and just see what we do around here?
We've invited the community multiple times through events where we'll do tours, walk through specifically the Innovation Center, the Auto Lab, the Wood Shop, the Champs Cafe. Unfortunately, there's not as much interest as you would think. We were surprised, to be honest with you. I think more so I've had better luck with class reunions. Some of our class reunions will ask to set up tours over the summer, and they reach out to myself or Mr. Rasmussen and previously Mr. Orline, and we would just bring groups through the school. And I think that's probably some of our better opportunity. And then word spreads, and then a sibling has a class reunion and they bring their, so I would say it's a struggle because we haven't been able to find the right platform avenue to,
Great
because
time to.
it just
bring it.
hasn't, we haven't had, and I wonder, when it comes to, we've had conversation around supervision and how do we make sure that, you could let people in, but yet you've got, you don't have,
They have to sign in, there's.
well, no, like during events that, and to be honest with you, some of what we struggle with is, we've got littles running throughout the building. And it's not always safe. And so we've been trying to find the right balance. And I don't know what the right balance is, but it's a good conversation to be
But
having.
I do think that the Innovation Center, that hallway could be lit, because.
Yeah.
But I totally understand, it gets pretty touchy, I know. It takes a small percentage to ruin it for everybody else, I know.
Well, and today we saw a great deal on
That too.
kindergarten class.
Sorry, but
You go ahead.
consistency might be important with some of that, just where the community knows, hey, if I wanted to, I could come in and maybe it's one time a year or a season where it's like, hey, first basketball game of the year, home basketball game, come on in, check out what else we got going on while you're here for the game or something. Just so consistency is just important for people. Then even if they miss the first one, like, okay, it'll be around next year. We'll put it on my calendar. I know it's coming.
That's something that our administrative team can kind of bring back and think about how we can, and really, I think it's been helpful to engage the leadership of the buildings to know, like, what are some things that, what are some activities or events or things that might draw people into the building? And so we can brainstorm those for sure.
I think you could put out a personal invitation to anybody. I mean, I'd like to think that any taxpayer is welcome in our school. They just have to, common courtesy, they got to come in and sign in. And I would think somebody would give them him or her the opportunity to see the school anytime they want.
I think it's going to depend.
I know, you can
I
get
mean,
100 people, I know that's.
It's really going to
Could get
depend on
touchy.
if we're in the middle of a school day
Yeah.
and our principals are in the middle of supporting their buildings. I probably am
touchy.
not going to say,
Yeah.
just come on in. It's very different. I have a little different availability. But there are times too where I'm not going to walk people through and disrupt a class,
Yeah.
because we're here for the kids and learning. So it is,
It's kind of a fine line, but I'd like to think that we could show a welcoming if the schedule permits.
I would say that I've sat here a number of times, and I'll extend the opportunity again. Anytime that somebody wants to, they can call me and I will schedule a visit with them. And I will walk them through the building. And if I'm not available, I've connected with Mr. Rasmussen. We encourage people to come and see, and we're happy to walk through and talk through what we do, because we do have amazing things happening.
Yeah, that's the best way of wording it. I shouldn't say just come in cold. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of common sense, a little bit
Well-
of, yeah.
But is there a way too that maybe engaging students doing something virtual, do a virtual tour and put on our website or do
Yeah.
avenues that way too? Technology is ever changing.
Mhm.
Something, get the kids involved, kind of promote everything.
Yeah, and we've had, those are really good ideas that we've kind of, we've had, what is it, when you start and stop, starts, bits and whatever. We've had like, let's go with it, let's get it going, and we have a group of kids and then they kind of fizzles.
No,
You
no, I
know,
get
so, it's a really good
Something.
concept to have engage kids and bring them into the
Well, and
conversation.
then they can show
Because
everybody.
That's really more so what our community, they don't really care what I think about something. They really do care about what our community, what our kids are doing.
Kind of like
To your
when we
point,
have
the video.
well, kind of like when we have our early afternoon meetings twice a year.
Yes,
When we bring the kids in, they get to talk about what they're doing. That's something to kind of expand on that way too.
exactly.
That's what I was thinking about. Okay.
So in community ed, how many brochures are we sending out a year? 2 now? 3. Okay, so without duplication of effort, what would it cost for us to buy 8 pages in hers and have a section in the back of a community ad that's going out on a regular basis with 8 or 10 of the pictures I'm talking about?
Sure.
Of classrooms, the wood shop, the metal shop, the welders, the auto shop, which nobody knows about. Half the time, you're not gonna see it anywhere. Arts and some of the other stuff that seem to not necessarily get out. And we have 8 pages on something that's already in motion and already going. All we have to do is add into it.
Sure.
And we pay our portion of it.
Yeah.
It might be the
Look into
least
that.
expensive thing for us to do. We combine it together. It's on a regular basis.
Yep.
And you will make sure that we keep up with our 8 pages or whatever it is.
Articles in.
I was gonna say, we have every, the district office, the elementary and the secondary do have articles in each of those, but we don't have just the pictures of kids. So that would be, well, we have pictures of kids doing the activities that are sponsored, but your point is valid.
That we
and
say
can look
pictures
into
worth
it.
1,000 words.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So doesn't necessarily have to have kids specific as much as some of what's going on.
Yes,
If the kids are in there working on wood projects, take a picture of that so we know what it is. How many people really know the fish house out there that appears not to be marketed extremely well? And that's a jab. But
noted.
how many people know that that was built by our trades and that we're waiting to sell it so the kids can have more stuff to do in the trades? Because I on the school board are gonna hear that we don't have any money because we got our money stuck in there. Now we can't have the program.
Yep.
That's what's coming down the pike. Does anybody know that? Is anybody driving by know that that's not somebody in the school's personal fish house that they're trying to sell on the property?
And you know what, there are 150 things that we could do different. 151, 290. I mean, it's just getting the ideas to the table and then being strategic about how is this gonna align, how's it gonna work, and where is it gonna go? And if our priority is about, if it's going to remain multimedia communications, let's work smarter, not harder. Let's talk about that, right? I won't go down the fish house line, but noted, okay? So, coming to financial allocation and fiscal stewardship. So recognizing that fiscal resources are finite, resources will be allocated to fulfill goals and objectives of the strategic plan and in accordance to all relevant state and federal statutes and rules. Additionally, Paynesville Area Schools strives to reinvent service delivery models to maximize the district's return on investment. So when you look at that, how well are our resources aligned with strategic priorities? When you think about the things we've talked about and looking at the first 2 goals, have we done a good job aligning our resources with what we've been prioritizing? I don't have to answer that, Bill.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're planning.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of things. We're getting stuff at this school done here on a planned basis. And every time we turn around, we're not going to the public to ask them for money.
We're being mindful. And
We have budgeted and managed ourselves to getting some really good things done that have been sitting on the back burner for 12 years that I know of. I think we've done really good there.
Are we maintaining a balanced budget while meeting student and staff needs? Have we addressed equity and access to programs and activities? I'm going to pause there for just a second because I'm really proud of the fact that we've had a lot of opportunity for kids that maybe wouldn't have had opportunity. And the process has not been difficult for them to access. So that's something that I'm proud of the work that our district has done. What changes in service delivery have improved cost effectiveness? What I will give there as an example that I would maybe ask you to keep thinking about is like our ADSYS application. That's a program that really takes a need that we have and it becomes a reimbursable program through the special education department at the Minnesota Department of Ed. So it's a service delivery option to meet a need that we have, and I have not yet heard, but how do we monitor financial performance and adjust spending as needed? So those are some questions, and I think I've tried to improve transparency about reports and bringing data to the board so you can see some from a financial perspective, and the community can see from a financial perspective too. So, but those are, I think it's still a valid goal for us to continue to work on, but what's that going to look like?
I think we're doing good actually in that whole area. And I think that in reality, it's just a matter of getting to the public what's going on here and maybe just letting them know there's some variables that we can't control.
Yep. So on this one, what I did is I linked in, and Jacob, you we haven't probably gone over this with you because this was in 2024. But this was the survey that, let me recast that. Actually, here, let's share this tab instead. So when we went out to the community, I think one of the things that was really important was to ask, in addition to, do you support the capital project levy, the tech levy? In addition to, would you support that? How are we doing? Okay. So this is here for you to review because I don't know that you've had a chance to see that, but I also linked it in just as a reminder for the rest of our community that it's out there, and we did that survey in 2024. So this is really kind of where are the key overlaps between the plan and the strategic plan and the survey, okay? And here were the things that were common alignments. Preparing students for life after high school. That came up as a theme in the community survey, and it's part of our strategic plan. High quality staff. We have a lot of conversation about staff development in our strategic plan. In addition to, that's one of the things that our community has valued for us. Safe and supportive schools, strong community partnerships, and communication. I would say, although that we have a lot of things to do from a communication perspective, there are some things that we do really well for communication. So I think that's valued, and we can continue to improve. That's, I think, one of those things that you're going to have people who say this is perfect and spot on, and there's going to be others who say, I don't ever hear enough, and it's not, and that's okay. And that's part of our role, is to be nimble within that. So the following are some things that we might want to consider. And again, I think this is a conversation that I would like to have not only with you as school board members, with our administrative teams, with our staff, with the district advisory council, and just start thinking about, maybe we want to expand the focus and definition of future ready students. Do we want to talk about financial literacy? Do we want to talk about stress management, goal setting, time management, teamwork, communication skills, leadership opportunities? Those are some things that we may want to consider integrating into a strategic plan. Directly address high expectations and academic achievement. So we reference intellectual growth, but we talk about high expectations and what that looks like. What does that look like for our students? Continue to focus on literacy and expand to math. We've talked a little bit about that. That's some things we may want to continue to focus on. Continued technology integration, teaching and modeling responsible use. I think that's, we've heard legislatively the conversation around cell phone bans and the policies and how that's all going to work. there's gotta be a level of teaching responsibility, okay? Fiscal planning to maintain high technological infrastructure. To your point, Bruce, we've set ourselves up to be really strategic in how we can maintain this long-term, so we don't have to go back to our voters for technology. And continued engagement with the community with a focus on public perception metrics and transparency. Those are a couple of things that we may want to think about that came up through the survey that currently aren't in our strategic plan, okay? So again, this is here as a guidepost for our communication and our conversation. And I will, this isn't the only time you're gonna see it, but again, the questions I wanted you to just start thinking about, so we have a little bit more structure versus just start reflecting on our strategic plan.
Can you go back to the part of this that had the respondents, the age of the respondents
Oh, sure.
and the percentage?
Yep. Whoops, actually, let me go here.
And these are people obviously paying a little attention to what's going on right there.
Yep.
So 55 and up is 30.9% of the population.
Yep.
Okay? Take 54 on down to probably the 25, probably quite active in the technology of looking into websites and all that kind of stuff. Some of the older group is,
So,
I can manage through everything, drives me nuts when they work poorly, but, but I can work through that stuff. But when we're talking about getting to our stakeholders, it says it right there.
and this is another piece of data that I think is gonna be, and I'll just put back out there, is how do you receive information from the school district? Okay, the press continues to be a place that we've had communication around. I was able to observe a meeting at the elementary, and we were talking about, or they were talking about celebrating the achievements and celebrating the good things that are happening and adding information. And we've, I think, consistently came into how can we maximize exposure through not only our Facebook and website, but then duplicate that in the Paynesville Press. How do we do that? And how do we make sure that it's, and again, working smarter, not harder. How can we just take the same information and put it in multiple places so that it's seen multiple times? So this is.
That's a very interesting one,
Yep.
because non-parents, non-staff,
Yep, that's the purpose.
lots of those people
Yep.
are still interested in what's going on in the school. They were all educated once.
Yep.
And if I go back to community ed, that could fall into that first one. Okay?
Yep.
How would community ed program work if we weren't sending out the brochure?
Right.
Okay? So pretty simple.
You know, Chris had a good example of another school district that did kind of and I'm gonna kind of bring in your flip-flop idea. And the front half was community ed. So you pick it up, and when you turn the page this way, it's community ed. You flip it over, you turn it this way, it's the school district.
Mhm.
You know, just some ideas. There were some, and I think it was Sauk Rapids Rice. Is that?
We did it at Sartell.
You Sartell, you did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay. So there are some creative ways to do it. So let's find what makes the most sense.
Maybe
Okay.
work with the paper and have once a month a special for just education.
Mhm.
Like they do it for every sports team at the beginning of every season. So maybe we just get a page. This is what
Sure.
each grade's working on or something.
Insert
And trades.
something.
Yeah.
And just include all that stuff in there.
So we can, it certainly is it's a platform. It's accessible, so, and it's utilized. So the survey is put in here so that you can see, just again, the reminder of what are the things that the top half was specifically about the capital project levy, and then the bottom half is about their feedback. So we strive to be an educational leader in rural Minnesota. So here's how we're gonna measure our progress, okay? It's important to bring that back and for our community to know that we are looking at that information and now we're gonna do something with it. There's nothing worse than doing a survey, asking people, and then do nothing with it.
Absolutely.
So
And that happens so often.
it does.
Absolutely.
And I mean, in all honesty, this took a year and a couple of months, but we're here.
Oh,
What
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
do with it,
Yeah.
okay? So,
And with that, I think we've put some things in place in order to get us here, like the advisory council, the district advisory council. That didn't exist before that. And we have met on that, just to kind of start laying things out, so.
So at our first meeting, I didn't necessarily get the impression that most people in there knew what was going on in the school.
I think you're right, yeah. I think you're right.
So just a perfect example, it's a nice group that was put together.
Yep.
And that's
Absolutely.
representative of, I think, the public, and lots of people didn't know what was going on. It's a main driver for this whole thing.
Yep.
So, maybe I missed, obviously we did one in 24 with the tech levy.
Mhm.
Do we send out surveys do we have a basis for when we send them out other than the levies, or?
so we had used school perceptions specifically around the operating referendum and the tech levy. We haven't had like every year we're going to send, depending on what's happening. So as for instance, last year around the block schedule, there was a survey that was sent to secondary parents, and so we do try to engage, but from a full-blown community survey, we haven't talked about every 1 year, every other year, every 5 years. We've not had that conversation.
That might be something we want to talk about, because, one of the complaints we hear is, you only come to me when you want my money.
Mhm.
They like giving feedback, or at least some people do. Some
Yep.
people will never answer anything even if you pay them, but if we ask for their opinion on things when we're not asking for money, they might be less reprehensive when we are asking for.
I think we had three of them, but we went through at least a superintendent and a half. The whole issue was the cost.
And that
It was
is,
like $13,000 or whatever it was.
So, but I think there's other ways, and that's number 4. Continued engagement with the community, focus on public perception metrics. Those are, and that might be a survey, a focus group, of whatever. Like, how are we consistently engaging the community, and are we going to do it outside of those operating referendum tech levy times? We have a lull. We need to stay connected with our community, and we want to do that. So I think that's another good point.
Say we put this whole program together with community ed, and let's say we have a page in there and we want to ask the public something, have a quick survey form and see if people will fill it out.
I think if we would insert a little
Right
thing
inside
to
the
click on,
community
for the-
Community ed. program.
I was gonna say ask community, yeah.
I have one of those scanning things.
Yeah, you are.
But yeah.
There we go.
if we make it like
It's kind of an
every year with, like, say, the new year, and the
Yeah.
winter one comes out,
Yeah.
where do a survey, then people know, hey, this is when they're looking for stuff.
And I think too, if we would use somewhat consistent questions, we'd be able to do some measurement of growth.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for the conversation around the strategic plan. Again, I feel sometimes like I'm beating a dead horse, but at the same time, I really do think it's important to have some of these preliminary conversations before you get to the place of saying, so what do you think about, it's important. So thank you for engaging in the conversation.
I think it's very important you bring it up.
Good.
Like you do on a regular basis, sometimes kind of gentle, but we gotta talk about it, we gotta figure it out.
Forefront, yeah.
Yep, we will. Yep, we will.
We'll get it. It's work in progress.
Yep, exactly.
Moving-
Rachel?
Yep, moving on to committee review. We're gonna review committee assignments to make preliminary changes due to Ron being a sub bus driver. More particularly with regard to the negotiations, correct? It's been board practice that each board member be on at least one of those committees. So we can have discussion on that.
Did Thomas or Cheryl weigh in? Were they open to any changes?
Thomas did. And he said he could change, I believe the food service and custodian one. However, that doesn't help with regard to the transportation because he's already on there.
Okay.
And Cheryl seemed pretty flexible.
Okay.
So, I mean, any discussion on possible?
Well, Ron, he's gonna be on one, where do you wanna go?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't wanna step on toes, but it doesn't matter to me.
No, well, you say what it is.
I guess-
We value your opinion.
I'm guessing administration, that must be a conflict, correct, for me?
No,
My wife?
the para is.
Paraprofessional and
the
support.
Support is the.
My wife's
conflict.
not a para though.
She's
Yeah, but
support staff.
Support staff.
Oh, okay. Well, then, teacher administration, I guess it doesn't matter.
So then either in teachers, it'd either be Jacob or Cheryl, or administration would be Thomas or Cheryl. So since Cheryl.
Yeah.
Because Rachel needs to be on all of them because she's the chair.
Let's find out if Cheryl will switch.
Yeah, you better check. I don't want to
She
step on toes.
did.
She said she was fine switching. She's flexible,
Like
is what I heard her
I
say.
just stepped down from whatever and.
You went into
and it was not
administration.
anything. What's that?
You went into administration.
Do you want teachers or administration? And then Cheryl will go down to transportation.
So what is your opinion? Or what is?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Teachers could be kind of difficult because when I was on there, we always met before school, early, and then we met usually
Doesn't
kind of right after school.
If they think it's over my head,
Administration.
whatever.
Oh, nothing's over your head.
Whatever you wanna do. Whatever you wanna do. You just put me in there.
Administration might work better for
Yeah, do it.
That was kind of what I was thinking,
Yeah,
is
that's
putting,
fine. Sounds
switching.
good.
Do you have that note, or do you want me to?
Sounds.
Just make a note on there and I'll update it. Okay? All
We
right.
should probably let Cheryl know too.
Yep.
And then this will be approved or voted on at the next board.
Yep, it'll be presented for action at the business meeting, correct?
Moving on, legislative updates.
Okay, there really are not, I wish I could say like, okay, here's what's happening. It really is not, this week is a big week. Everything has to come out of the House, has to come out of the Senate. And then the omnibus bills have to be out. I thought that the House omnibus bill came out last week and the Senate omnibus bill was supposed to come out today, but I haven't seen it. I looked right before I got here and I hadn't seen the omnibus bill yet, but so those two are gonna come. It does continue to be a focus on budget reductions, and that's unfortunately a conversation. One thing I will tell you that was concerning to me this morning, I was on the MREA legislative update and their conversation with the lobbyists. I had not heard this yet and I was concerned, but in the Senate, there is a conversation about them taking a look at taking away the inflationary index for education. So there's some within the Senate who are saying, no, that needs to stay there, it makes sense. And there's others who are saying, this was a mistake, we shouldn't have done that. So that's an area of concern that I don't think it's gonna come through this year because I think the House is very committed to maintaining that inflationary index. But we've also seen kind of what's been happening with other funding sources because we have that guarantee 2.74 this year. There are other areas of education that are being predicted to or proposed to claw back. So it just, unfortunately, it's still, there's not a lot that I can share of certainty. The one piece that I will share out, because I know last week, the Minnesota Department of Education received kind of a request to certify that they are going to follow some of the federal mandates for diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is problematically happening is that in Title IX, language and interpretation, the Minnesota Supreme Court has ruled on, in one way, and the federal government is saying another way. So now we have two governing bodies that school districts are really accountable to, and trying to figure out how do we navigate that. So what our school districts have been doing is waiting for kind of a guidance from legal counsel or our Minnesota Department of Ed to kind of guide us, because they would be ultimately our path through. So the commissioner sent a letter back to the federal government stating, we're gonna follow the jurisdiction of what's been the Minnesota Supreme Court in addition to the federal regulations, and we're gonna just see what happens. So hold on, stay tuned, and we're gonna just keep doing what we're doing. So that's what I have for legislative information. How's that?
That's pretty good. Next year will be an election year, so we'll hear a lot of talk to talk and not walk to walk.
We'll see what happens. Yep.
All right, moving on to request for information and roundtable. And follow up to that, just make a note that Tuesday, May 13th meeting is the afternoon meeting, starting at 1:30.
Okay.
So. Information and roundtables. I am extremely interested in hearing from the school, like we did the kindergarten class and all that. Whether it shows up on a little video here or something, but we tried this a few years ago, and I think you were maybe with us, where we were trying to have something every meeting, because when you're on the school board and we're at these meetings talking about all this stuff, all you gotta have is the kids doing something, and all of a sudden you feel 110% better, just like snapping your fingers, because you have an idea what's going on there. And we tried to have something kind of more regular. And maybe we can do something like that. Could it be a little video where they're in the innovation center? Maybe just pick out a couple areas, quick video, it's done in 1.5, 2 minutes, just like what you did, and lets us know what's going on in there, right? And then we can do everything, science. I mean, by next year, are we gonna have our new lab by next year?
We're working on it.
By next year, if we got a brand new lab, well, then let's show people some of what goes on in there. I mean, I think that's what they want to hear. And you got all these kids in the video. It used to be they did a whole bunch of video on the innovation, right? I think they might still do that. Might be kind of fun to do a 2-minute video about different things in the school, and you don't have to even do it yourself. That's a pretty nice deal.
All right. I wish, Bruce, I wish I could say it came together just like that, but it's not.
Well, I got faith in you. I'm not worried. It'll come together.
But there are very talented people, and there are kids who are pretty savvy, so. All right.
Next Monday, we do have, Monday the 14th, there is the community or the district advisory committee.
Yes.
Have it here at 6 o'clock, so.
Yep.
That's,
So Bruce and Gerald, and I think Ron, you're on as well, so you guys are gonna get to hear this again, but.
It's fine. I like that committee.
Monday the 14th at 6 p.m. is at district advisory committee.
Okay.
We have taken worthless committees and put them into something that's beneficial with that district advisory committee.
And that's here.
That's
Yes.
very correct. That'll be the last one for this school year, correct? This fiscal year,
I
correct?
think so,
Yeah.
correct.
Thank you for reminding.
Anything else? All right, then I think we're adjourned.
Well, okay, I got a question. I'm confused. Your other email, when does this get talked about? Or is that next?
That would be probably, or which one are you asking about?
We're going about,
So that you.
talking about the 2-hour late starts.
Yeah, those are just informational. Those
Okay.
aren't action items right now for that
Okay,
one.
and then the wrestling mats, I guess,
That would be if you have a question, then I can circle back and gather more information.
well, yeah, I guess I was kind of curious, and I don't know what kind of funds the district has. I mean, they're asking for 4,000, but the question I have is, I know they did it for football. they had volleyball, they do for baseball every year, these $100 chances, although, trust me, there, a lot of people are doing these $100 chances, but I didn't know if they entertained that idea. The other idea I was curious about, if they did like some type of breakfast or supper.
So, why don't you, like, when you.
But I don't know if
that-
that's gambling or how that works.
Yep, so why don't you send me those suggestions and I'll pass those along to the wrestling club and let them, kind of navigate that, because,
I
so,
didn't know what kind of money we had here, because they're asking for 4,000 from community ed and 4,000 from districts.
but they're contributing 12.
Rest of the club's playing one of the matches,
So I'm gonna now, okay, so let me just, I'll let the community know kind of, because, so informationally, the board was provided with update and a request for replacing wrestling mats. So the wrestling club had proposed a $12,000 contribution of 4,000. They were gonna be requesting money from the booster club. They requested money from community ed, and they requested money from the school district to replace the wrestling mats. So the question that, the information that went out to the board was just as a heads up, this is kind of coming your way. So board members, if you have questions about that, please send it my direction and I will pass that on to the wrestling club. Because they would need to, they need to either move forward or not move forward based on what they know for funds, but I can pass that back along to them.
Because I guess I just didn't know what we had for funds. I mean, who makes that call?
That would be on my call.
Okay.
Because it's whether we have money in the budget or not. And we have money in the budget, the capital project that we could assign to that.
Okay.
If,
I'm just
I
looking
mean,
for other
4,000,
avenues to maybe save us some money, so.
yeah, well, $12,000 is a pretty big contribution that we wouldn't have to come up with.
Yep.
It's about a $20,000 investment.
I'm interested in how much they said about the potential girls team. I know that's been talked about forever, and a lot of various schools are starting to have their own girls teams, so.
Yep, and there's some of our area have more girls participants in wrestling, and that's one of the areas that wrestling we have 7 girls within the youth program that are active, growing, and pretty talented. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over the course of years. So, but it's I know one of my colleagues has in St. Michael Albertville, they have a phenomenal girls wrestling program. So.
I'll say other schools too.
What about volleyball? I thought they were gonna have a men's volleyball. I thought that was approved for this upcoming year, but there just wasn't any interest in our district, correct?
So we don't offer every activity that's approved by the state high school league. And part of
There's
that,
gotta be enough interest, I suppose.
well, part of that is we don't have the student body to strictly support all of the activities. Some of our activities we have to host because we have to co-op to have enough participants to host. So there was not a discussion about hosting a boys volleyball team.
Okay, I was curious.
Yep.
We are adjourned.
All right, thank you.